How does level correction work? It's a very interesting and professional tool when working with color and photo color. With it, we can work more professionally on our photos. First, we need to understand what a histogram is. A histogram shows what our photo consists of. Visually, we should divide the histogram into 4 sections. From right to left, the far right part will be responsible for the highlights, and on the histogram we can roughly see how many highlights are in our photo. After that, visually we move to the lighter parts of the photo, and we can see how much light is in the photo. Then comes the midtones, and finally the shadows. And with these sliders we can work on the photo. If we move the central slider to the right or left, we will mainly work with the central part of the lighting. If we move the left part, the left black slider, we will work with the shadows. If we move the right slider, it works with the highlights. If we take the central slider and move it to the right, we will shift our histogram to the right, meaning our photo will darken, mainly in the middle part. If to the left, our photo will lighten. The same goes for the extreme sliders. If we move the dark slider to the right, our photo will darken, but not the entire photo, only the darkest areas. Great! And the same goes for the right slider. If we move the right slider to the left, the highlights, the brightest areas in our photo will lighten. Great! With these 3 sliders you can adjust the photo's lighting more finely. Below is also a panel, but it works in reverse. If I move the left slider, which is responsible for the shadows, to the right, the shadows will lighten. If I move the right slider, the highlights, to the left, the highlights will darken. Great! In this way we have full control over the lighting, and on the lower panel, full control over the darkest and lightest points. What does this number 255 mean? Note that you will encounter this number very often in Photoshop when working with lighting. Why 255 is the number of steps from the darkest to the lightest that the human eye can see. For example, 0 is complete darkness, 250 is the brightest, meaning the whitest. In between, it's a transition. In simple terms, 0 is black, 1 is black but slightly lighter, 2 is also black but even slightly lighter, and so on up to the whitest. Great. At the top, these are presets, automatic settings. You can see what they are, but professional retouchers don't use them. But we also have the ability on this panel to control not only lighting, but also color. How to work with this? We can click on RGB and choose, for example, red. The histogram shows us where the red is located. And you can see that there is little red in the dark part of the photo, but a lot in the light part of the photo. And we can, if we move this slider to the right or left, work with the red in the middle part of the photo in terms of light. If I move it to the right, the opposite of red will be added to our photo. The opposite of red is cyan. If I move it to the left, red will be added to our photo, also in the middle. Red plus red increases the saturation of red. Great! And in the same way, you can work with red in the dark areas of the photo and in the light areas of the photo. Great! And the same goes for the extreme areas. That is, this is working with the darkest and this is working with red, with the lightest. Note that when we work with red, it doesn't mean we're only working with red. We're working with red and its opposite. Therefore, you need to learn the opposites of colors. The opposite of red is cyan. Great! Now you know how this tool is structured.